Welcome back to the channel, and this is a channel where we give you reviews, playthroughs, unboxings, and we generally like to talk a load of bollocks about tabletop gaming in general. And in this video, we're going to be talking about a reissue of a game that I first played when I was 12 years old. We're going to be talking about Blitz Bowl Ultimate Edition, and in this game you'll be kicking an egg-shaped football around a pitch. You'll be using your special abilities to try and get the ball into your opponent's end zone. That will give you points that will allow you to win the game. So in this video, I'm going to be giving you a very brief overview of the rules. We're telling you what we do like, what we don't like. Then we'll come back and we'll tell you whether or not Blitz Bowl Ultimate Edition is worth your time and bother today and in the future. So remember, if you are new here, then please consider subscribing to this channel. Hit the like button and all that YouTube bullshit. We'll see you after this. Bollocks. So, Blitz Bowl Ultimate Edition. How'd you play this game? So, Blitz Bowl Ultimate Edition is a slimmed down version of the original Blood Bowl game. Blitz Bowl was released a few years ago, but this takes all the best bits, I do believe. I didn't play the first iteration. It takes all the best bits and turns it into a more wholesome experience, right? So in Blitz Bowl Ultimate Edition, each player is going to take one of the two teams. You've got the humans and you've got the Skaven, which is sort of par for the course in Blood Bowl sets. Each player is going to take a dugout and you'll be able to set up your team on the first row of the squares on your side of the pitch. Stick the ball on a trapdoor and you'll decide who goes first. And the way the game works is like this. You'll refresh the challenge cards that are available and you'll be able to take 3 actions. You've got to remember though that whilst each player can take more than one action, each player cannot take the same action more than once. If you do this, then you'll be force-fed Farley's rusks to explode. So there's 2 distinctions between players. You've got open players and you've got marked players. Marked players are figures that have another figure adjacent to them, and that includes diagonals, and an open player means that there is no figures next to them, right? So different types of actions that you can take in Blitz Bowl Ultimate. You can take the run action. You'll look at the type of player that you are going to move. You've got different types of players. You've got blitzers, you've got linemen, throwers, and on the Skaven cards you've got gutter runners here. And you'll look at the move value and you'll be able to move that number of spaces. You cannot take a move action that would move you adjacent to another player, right? So you're going to have to stop short or bypass them. And you've got to be careful that if you're on a trapdoor, they can fly open and you can disappear forever. So the next action you can take is a mark action. You can move up to 2 spaces. You have to end your movement in a space adjacent to another figure, right? So the next action you can take is a throw action. This is where, funnily enough, you'll be throwing the ball. You'll have to see if the teammate is in range. You'll take the range marker and you'll see if they're in range, yeah? And you'll have to make a throw check. If you are taking a long throw, if the range marker says it's a long throw, then you have to deduct 1 from the value that you roll. And if the throw is obstructed, you have to do the same thing. So to make a throw check, you'll roll a d6. And if the result is lower than the throw score on a player card, then the throw is successful. So the next action you can take is a block action. You'll choose a marked player that's adjacent here and you'll roll the block die and resolve the effect. If you roll the skull, you miss and nothing happens, but the player making a block can't take any more actions, so that's a bit risky. You might get the tackle resolution, in which case you knock down the target. Yeah, you could shove your target, which means that they will move 1 space away from where they were. You can smash your opponent, and in addition, they're placed prone in the square that they are in. And the ball bounces. You roll D8 and you'll consult the chart and then the ball will move into that space, yeah? And you might also roll the crunch action. And they'll have to make an armor check. They'll do the same as the throw check. You'll roll a D6, check it against the relevant stat. And if it's higher, then they'll be injured and they'll be stuck in the dugout until you can put them back on the pitch. There's also the sidestep action. You can move 1 space to the left or the right. You can stand up a prone player who's been done over by some other geezer. And you can take the reserve action, be able to move the players from your reserve pool into a space on the end zone. So if you manage to get the ball into your opponent's end zone, you'll score 4 points. There's also challenge cards that you can complete. Basically, these are like achievement type thing. So you might want to score 2 points for claiming the get movement card. And it says claim this card if a player from your team made a run action and your team has made 3 or more run actions during your turn. Or you might want to grab the show us a completion. It gives you 1 point and it says claim this card if a player from your team made a throw action and that throw action was successful. Or you might want to grab the 2 point show no fear card. It says claim this card if a player from your team ended an action on a trapdoor, and one or more opponents has possession of the ball. So these spice the game up, give you things to aim for to get extra points, yeah? So we love the fact that these are included. So I'm not going to go through any of the more fiddly rules. There's not many of them, but there's a few extra fiddly rules I can't be arsed with. But basically, you'll keep doing this until one player is 10 points ahead of the other player, and then they will be the winner of Blitz Bowl Ultimate Edition. So what do we like about Blitz Bowl Ultimate Edition? So the first thing that we quite like about this is that it stands in stark contrast to the original Blood Bowl that we first played in 1986. We had the original version with the crappy punch-out tokens, and then later on in about 1993 or so, we moved on to the Astro Granite pitch, and then we found out that that pitch wasn't sort of regulation standard and it wasn't compatible really with other versions. So we just basically got rid of it all and threw it into the trash bin. And there it sat for 30 years or so. We did get the 2016 reprint, but again, it fell short for us. Found it a little bit too long, a little bit too drawn out, a little bit too random. So we got rid of it. And then when I found out that Blitz Bowl Ultimate Edition was being released, I looked for it and I found out you couldn't get it in the UK, even though it says it's fucking printed in the UK. So a mate of mine in Arizona, out the goodness of his heart, decided to go and get it and send it all the way from the United States to the UK so we can enjoy this game. And we will be eternally grateful for him because he has shaved off the mind-numbing length of the original Blood Bowl and allowed us to enjoy the game as we've always sort of wanted to play it, yeah, because it's shorter. It's more streamlined. There's less rules to think about. You're just going to be taking one of a few actions, rolling a couple of dice, seeing what happens, playing it for about half an hour to an hour at the very, very most. And it doesn't really matter if you win or lose because you haven't invested like 3 hours fucking about. So yeah, it's shorter, it's more streamlined, and that's how we like it. We don't like full fat Coke unless it's white. So second thing that we like about Blitz Bowl Ultimate is that you've got a massive wad of teams included in the core set. You've got the Lizard Men team. You've got the Nurgle team in there. You've got the Necromantic team. That sounds a bit weird. That reminds me of a film I saw once where some bloke cut off his cock. Obviously, you've got the Human team, Khorne team, the Halfling team, the Goblin team, the Elf team, blah, 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 blah. They're all in there. So if you want to switch things up, you've got the stats to do so out of the box. I suppose you could go and search for them online, but that would make you a fucking feeble twat, wouldn't it? So the final thing that we like about Blitz Bowl Ultimate Edition is that there's another huge stack of cards that give you achievements. Not only have you got the points on here that are going to shorten the game for you, because if you get a few of these, you're going to be able to surge ahead, but you've also got the bonus plays on the other side. For instance, if you claim the Get In there, you'll be able to play this card after a player from your team is placed in the reserve as a result of being injured. Immediately make a free reserves action with that player. So that means that a player can go steaming in, have a bit of a rumble, get mullered, and then come straight back into the action for another pop. Reminds me of going to Millwall away in 1992. If you've claimed the Leg Up card, play this card after your team plays a challenge card or scores a touchdown and you'll score 1 point. So this gives you a few bonus points, yeah? Or you might want to play Nuffle's Blessing, right? Sounds a bit ominous, doesn't it? Play this card immediately. Do not add it to your hand. Block action made by players from your team count as being assisted, right? That's lovely. I want to put that under my pillow and salivate over it for the next millennium because I'm going to live forever. Don't know about you. What don't we like that Blitz Bowl Ultimate Edition? So the first thing that we don't like about this game is that, for the love of God Games Workshop, stop putting miniatures on fucking sprues. I drew blood trying to put this game together. The spiky balls trying to get them out of the sprues and trying to shave off all the shit around them. I don't have the spotty geek scissor things that allow you to cut sprues out, yeah? I had to just pop them out with my fingers because the scissors I've got in my kitchen drawer are too thick, yeah? And they say they just clip together and they don't, yeah? On numerous occasions, I popped out like an eyeball from one of the figures and it flew on the floor and I was scratching around in the dirt trying to find it and I couldn't find it, and then my daughter found it in a bowl of Rice Krispies. Needless to say, she is now in a psychiatric unit. Just kidding, snowflakes. So yeah, they are a pain in the arse. I don't know why they just don't make moulded miniatures like everybody else. Maybe it's to appease the old school farts that are so old they need man nappies. That will come back to haunt me because I am reaching that age myself. I haven't shipped myself just yet. So yeah, sprues out, moulded figures in, if you don't mind. So the second thing that we don't like about this is that it's still dominated by random die rolls. And whilst we have come to terms with this, we have exercised the demons of random die rolls in Blood Bowl because it's shorter. If you don't like that, if you don't like the random aspect, then Blitz Bowl Ultimate Edition isn't going to massage your prostate in the way that you think it might. However, if you can forgive a game for never giving you the right die roll, even though you tried your best to bribe it financially, then this game could see you stuck in a quagmire of frustration for quite a long time. So the final thing that we don't like about this game is that whilst the game comes with pre-loaded team cards, it doesn't come with its own teams. Yeah, you can't go out and buy Blitz Bowl teams. You can't go out and buy packs of 6 figures. You have to go out and get the original Blood Bowl figures, and that's going to leave you with a surplus of figures. And to be honest, they're bloody expensive. They're about 30 quid a box, yeah, where you only need a few of them. So I suppose, I don't know, you could just pretend that the humans are the lizard men, or that the Skaven are dwarfs or something, and just play with the card. So that's kind of disappointing that they haven't sort of supported this game on its own terms. You have to go out and fuck about trying to find original Blood Bowl teams and then not use half of it. So to summarise, is Blitz Bowl Ultimate Edition, which I've probably called Blood Bowl on numerous occasions in this video, worth your time and bother today and in the future? So we're going to say, yes, this is how we always wanted to play Blood Bowl, right? And it's finally arrived, yeah? As I got older, I found the main game too fiddly, too random, and too long. It was okay in the 80s, that's what you did back then. You played Talisman for 100 hours straight, or until your spleen dissolved. As games progressed, as we moved into the modern era, the random aspect and the length of this just became a little bit too much for my pea-sized brain. This edition clears up all of those frustrations, yeah? It's short. It's not overly complex. There's no fiddly rules in here. And it looks better, doesn't it? It looks better than those shitty punch-out tokens which you used to get with GW games years ago. Be prepared for sore fingers and hunting for tiny little fragments under your kitchen table when you're putting this together, yeah? They try and make it sound like it's easy to put together on a box, yeah? Maybe I'm just stupid. Maybe I'm just a thick piece of shit. But I've really struggled with this. It took me about 3 hours to put this together. Yeah, I know, geriatric. But once you have set this up, you are then free to experience a streamlined version of an age-old classic, right? I'm never playing the core Blood Bowl again, but I'm sort of addicted to this. I like the fact that there's hardly any rules. It's just take an action, try and get the ball into your opponent's goal, and then come up with some crazy celebrations and watching your opponent collapse into a maudlin psychological state. So there you go, that is Blitz Bowl Ultimate Edition. Thank you very much to the Shogerstein for sending us this copy. You can check out his channel in one of the cards up here. He deals with a lot of historical games and he does colourblind assessment for games, which is kind of useful in this day and age. So check out his channel. But if you are new here, then please consider subscribing to his channel, innit? Leave a comment in the section down below. Tell us what you think about Blitz Bowl Ultimate Edition or your experiences of Blood Bowl when you were learning to walk in the 80s. But other than that, fuck off.